They told me to pack my bags and leave immediately. But what they didn't know was I already owned more of the company than all of them combined. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. Because 1 week earlier, I was standing quietly in the back row of a funeral, dressed in black, watching powerful people pretend to grieve a man they were already replacing. My name is Amara Nwosu. I'm 34 years old, and to everyone in that room, I was nothing more than the CEO's assistant. Invisible, replaceable, easy to ignore. But here's the question. If I was so insignificant, why did Daniel Reed trust me with something he didn't trust his own board with? The day of the funeral, something felt wrong. Not sad, wrong. People weren't crying the way you expect. They were watching each other, calculating, whispering behind folded hands. You ever walk into a room and feel like something already started without you? That was this. Daniel Reed, 62, CEO. Powerful, respected, feared, and now gone, just like that. But 3 nights before he died, he called me into his office after everyone had left. No assistants, no board members, just me and him. His voice was different, quieter, careful. Amara, if anything happens to me, don't say anything right away. Don't say anything? About what? He didn't explain, not fully. He just handed me a sealed envelope. Wait, he said. Let them show you who they really are first. Now think about that. Why would a CEO say something like that unless he already knew something was coming? I didn't open the envelope that night. I didn't open it the next day either. And then he died. Just like that. No warning, no closure. So there I was, at his funeral, holding that envelope in my bag, watching his so-called trusted board already shifting power like he never existed. And then I saw it. Victor Hale, 55, COO, already acting like he owned the place, standing too confidently, speaking too much, not grieving, positioning. And beside him, Linda Graves, 48, head of HR, cold, controlled, observing everything. They weren't mourning. They were preparing. Victor walked past me at the end of the service, didn't even stop, didn't even look, just muttered, HR will be restructuring soon. Restructuring? A week after the CEO dies? Really? That's when I realized something. This wasn't just a death. This was an opportunity for them. And somehow, I was part of a plan I didn't fully understand yet. My fingers tightened around that envelope in my bag. I still hadn't opened it. But deep down, I already knew. Whatever was inside it was about to change everything. And they had no idea. They didn't just ignore me, they erased me. That's the first thing I felt when I walked back into the office after the funeral. Not tension, not grief, erasure. You ever return somewhere familiar and suddenly realize you don't belong there anymore? That was me. Daniel's office, empty, cleared out like he never existed. His nameplate, gone. His personal photos, gone. 16 years of leadership, wiped in less than a week. Too fast, way too fast. And then there was Victor Hale, same man who barely acknowledged me at the funeral, now walking around like he already been crowned CEO. No official announcement, no board vote, nothing. Public. Just power taken. And nobody questioned it. Why? That's when things started getting uncomfortable. People stopped talking when I walked by. Conversations cut short. Doors closed quickly. Even people I had worked with for years suddenly avoided eye contact. And then I noticed the pattern. One by one, employees were being called into HR. Not meetings, terminations, quiet ones, strategic ones. Anyone who had been close to Daniel? Gone. finance officers, legal assistants, even his longtime advisor. Let me ask you something. If this was just restructuring, why remove everyone connected to the former CEO? What are you trying to hide? I tried to stay calm, observant, exactly like Daniel told me. Wait. So I waited, but I watched everything. Late one evening, I stayed back longer than usual. That's when I saw it. Linda leaving the records room with a stack of files that should have been archived, not removed. The next morning, those files were gone, deleted, no record, no trace. Now tell me this, does that sound like normal company behavior to you? Or does that sound like someone cleaning up something they don't want discovered? And then came the moment, the one they thought would break me. I got the email. HR requests your presence immediately. No explanation, no context, just a time. I walked into that room already knowing what was coming. Linda Graves sat across from me. Perfect posture, blank expression, a folder placed neatly on the table like this was just another routine task. She didn't even try to soften it. Effective immediately, your position has been terminated. Just like that. 6 years, reduced to 1 sentence. Pack your belongings and leave the premises. No thank you, no acknowledgement, nothing. Cold, calculated, final. Now here's the part that caught her off guard. I didn't argue. I didn't panic. I didn't even ask why. I just looked at her and smiled. Got it. That was it. Simple, calm, controlled. And for the first time, her expression shifted, just slightly. Confusion, because that's not how this was supposed to go. I stood up, picked up my bag, and walked out of that room without looking back. No hesitation, no emotion. But inside, I was thinking one thing. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Because they thought they got rid of me. They had no idea what I was about to become. They thought they got rid of me, but all they really did was force my hand. The moment I stepped outside the building, the doors closing behind me with that soft final click, I stopped. No rushing, no panic, just stillness. Have you ever had one of those moments where everything slows down, where you realize something big is about to happen, but you don't know exactly how yet? That was me. I walked a few steps forward, then reached into my bag. The envelope, still sealed. Daniel's last instruction echoing in my head. Wait. I had waited. Through the funeral, through the whispers, through the lies, even through being fired. So, I opened it, right there on the sidewalk. And what I saw? Yeah, that's when everything changed. Inside were 3 documents. A signed share transfer agreement, a notarized legal confirmation, and a personal letter from Daniel. My name was right there, Amara Nwosu. And next to it, 51% ownership. I blinked. Once, twice. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I understood it perfectly. He didn't just trust me, he handed me control. Majority ownership. Power over the entire company. Dated 3 days before he died. Now, let me ask you something. Why would a CEO secretly transfer majority ownership to his assistant and tell her to stay quiet? Unless he knew something was coming. My grip tightened on the papers as everything started connecting. The rushed restructuring, the deleted files, the silent takeovers. They didn't just react to his death. They were ready for it. And they assumed no one would challenge them, especially not me. That's when I smiled. Not out of revenge, but clarity. because now I understood the timing. If I had revealed this earlier, they would have buried it in legal delays, questioned it, challenged it, maybe even destroyed evidence. But now, they had already exposed themselves. Illegally firing employees, illegally reassigning authority without approval, illegally moving assets without oversight. They played their hand too early, and I let them. I pulled out my phone and made one call. Ethan Cole, 40, Daniel's personal lawyer. He picked up on the second ring. Amara? I opened it. Silence. Then, where are you? I just got fired. Another pause. Longer this time. Then his voice changed. Sharp. Focused. Do not go back there alone. Send me everything right now. I did. Every page, every signature. Within minutes, his response came through. Amara, this isn't just valid. A beat. This gives you full control. I looked back at the building, same place I had just been dismissed from like I didn't matter. Funny how fast things change, right? Because in that moment, I wasn't looking at it like an employee anymore. I was looking at it like the owner. And inside, they were still acting like they were in charge. That was about to end. I slipped the documents back into my bag, took a slow breath, and said quietly, let's see how they react when they realize who they just fired. The next morning, I walked back into the building and everything stopped. No dramatic sneak-ins, no cloak and dagger. I walked through the front doors like I had every right to be there, which technically I did. Security tried to block me. Ma'am, you can't. I smiled, calm, controlled. Actually, I can. Out came Ethan Cole, Daniel's personal lawyer, flanked by 2 other legal representatives. Papers in hand, authority in presence. The security guards froze, glanced at each other, unsure how to respond. Inside the office, the usual hum of a corporate morning, phones ringing, printers churning, people buzzing, suddenly stopped. Conversations died mid-sentence. Chairs creaked. Everyone looked toward the front. They all knew something had shifted. I made my way to the boardroom, and then I saw them. Victor Hale sitting at the head of the table, posture perfect, chest puffed out like a king in his court, and Linda Graves, expression tight, eyes darting nervously around the room. The rest of the board? Pale, uneasy, whispering amongst themselves. Victor's voice broke the silence first. What is this? Some kind of mistake? I placed the documents on the table. Each signature, notarization, and legal confirmation crystal clear. The room went quiet. Even Linda's composed mask faltered. Ownership, Ethan said, even but firm, transferred 51% to Ms. Nwosu 3 days before Mr. Reed's death, effective immediately. Victor's jaw tightened. He tried to speak. Nothing came out. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. Every word he could have said evaporated. Linda's face went pale. She realized every calculation, every maneuver, every plan they had put in motion, it all meant nothing. I finally spoke, calm, deliberate. You fired me yesterday. Silence. I let the words sink in, let the weight hit. I could see the panic rising in their eyes, their confidence collapsing under invisible pressure. Today, I continued, voice steady, I decide what happens next. Victor leaned forward, desperation creeping in. What do you want? I slid a small file across the table. Let's start with everything you tried to hide. And just like that, the balance of power had shifted completely. In that moment, I wasn't longer the assistant they thought they could discard. I was the majority owner, the decision maker, the one in control. And for the first time, I saw fear, the raw, ugly kind, in people who had spent years pretending to be untouchable. Because nothing is more dangerous than the person you underestimated. And I had waited, exactly as Daniel told me. The room was silent, not one word escaped. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. I opened the second file I had brought. It contained months of careful observations Daniel had urged me to gather. Emails showing Victor and several board members plotting control before Daniel's death, unauthorized fund transfers and suspicious accounting adjustments, internal memos discussing layoffs and power grabs timed perfectly with the CEO's funeral. Every piece of paper confirmed it. They weren't just being aggressive, they were planning a takeover, and they thought no one would stop them. Ethan turned to Victor. These actions violate fiduciary duties and corporate law. Immediate suspension and investigation are mandatory. Victor's face went pale. He opened his mouth, closed it, and finally muttered, This isn't possible." It was possible. It was real, and it was happening right in front of them. Linda's attempt at defense crumbled when the emails tying her directly to the scheme were revealed. Her calm, controlled mask shattered. HR had no power here. Not anymore. I sat back slightly and exhaled. Not triumphant, not vengeful, just calm, steady. "They thought I was invisible," I said softly. That. No rushing. No panic. Just stillness. Have you ever had one of those moments where everything slows down, where you realize something big is about to happen, but you don't know exactly how yet? That was me. I walked a few steps forward, then reached into my bag. The envelope, still sealed. Daniel's last instruction echoing in my head. Wait. I had waited. Through the funeral, through the whispers, through the lies, even through being fired. So, I opened it, right there on the sidewalk. And what I saw? Yeah, that's when everything changed. Inside were 3 documents. A signed share transfer agreement, a notarized legal confirmation, and a personal letter from Daniel. My name was right there. Amara Nwosu. And next to it, 51% ownership. I blinked. Once. Twice. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I understood it perfectly. He didn't just trust me. He handed me control. Majority ownership. Power over the entire company. Dated 3 days before he died. Now, let me ask you something. Why would a CEO secretly transfer majority ownership to his assistant and tell her to stay quiet? Unless he knew something was coming. My grip tightened on the papers as everything started connecting. The rushed restructuring, the deleted files, the silent takeovers. They didn't just react to his death. They were ready for it.